Hello for everyone who is joining us. Welcome to our live session today presented by Keller Consulting and Arreva, Data Collection, Data Utilization, and Capacity Building, How to Choose the Right CRM for Your Nonprofit. If you're just joining us, we're going to get started right at 3 p.m., but we want to know who we have on today, so make sure you say hello to us in the chat box. Let us know your organization, where you're joining us from. We're excited to get started and have you all here with us. Thank you. Hello to everyone who is joining us right now. We're going to be getting started shortly. Welcome to Data Collection, Data Utilization, and Capacity Building, How to Choose the Right CRM for Your Nonprofit. We're going to go ahead and get started in a few minutes, but if you are just joining, please utilize that chat box to let us know your organization, your name, and where you're joining from so we can see who we have on today. Thank you. We'll get started shortly.
There's a door. No, they shut down. Oh, but they were not good. How thing I bring back, you find out back and really just keep it up. You find, you know, to reach.
All right, well, we are at the top of the hour, so we'll go ahead and get started. Thank you everyone for being here with us today. We have a fantastic panel and a fantastic session for you that I'm very excited to get started. To begin, just to let you know, we are recording today's session, so if at any time you need to refer back to anything, want to share this out with anyone from your teams, anything like that, you will get a copy afterwards and a copy of the PowerPoint deck, so no need to worry there. I'm going to go ahead and get started so we can get a clean recording for you all, and here we go. Welcome to Data Collection, Data Utilization, and Capacity Building, how to choose the right CRM for your nonprofit. Welcome, everyone. Just to go through a quick agenda, we're going to do some introductions and then get right into our PowerPoint about some of the challenges facing nonprofits today, and then talk a little bit about donor acquisition, building deeper relationships, and increasing retention. If you do have any questions and answers during the session, make sure to use the chat box or the Q&A box so we can pass those along to our panel. All right, so let's get started. With us today, we have Judy Keller, who is the president of Keller Consulting. Hi, Judy, how are you doing?
Just fine, Gabby, thanks.
And then we have Stacy Tulavaz. She is the senior vice president of Keller Consulting. Welcome, Stacy. Thanks for being here.
Thank you.
We have David Blyer, who is the co-founder, president, and CEO of Arreva. Hi, David. How are you?
Good, Gabby. Thanks for putting this on, and I appreciate Stacy and Judy and Chris joining this, and we're excited about and presenting to the audience today. Thank you.
And then we have Chris Fink, who is our chief operating officer here at Arreva. Hi, Chris. Thanks for being here.
Oh, thanks for having me.
And then I'm Gabriella Slemy. I'm the director of marketing here at Arreva, and I will be your moderator for today. All right, I'll pass this over to you guys.
Thank you. Well, welcome everyone. Just a little bit of background on Keller Consulting. We are a nationwide fundraising consulting firm. We've been at it for about 20 years and serve all sectors, especially health and humanities, and our arts and humanities and health and human services. So a lot of libraries, museums, youth and social service organizations. And while each nonprofit is unique, I would say we've seen certain through lines in those 20 years. And one very important one relates to data. We see organizations that are missing opportunities, not just for the capital campaigns that we focus on, but in their annual operating funds as well. They're missing opportunities because they have a lot of separate systems for collecting data. And I believe Arreva has really solved that problem. So we're pleased to be part of this conversation today. We do specialize in strategic planning, resource development planning, and capital campaigns. And I say in all three sectors, Arreva has solutions for our clients.
All right, well, thank you for that, Judy. To go ahead and get started today, you're going to see a poll come up on your screen. We're going to ask a few questions of the audience just to gauge the temperature in the room, but we want to know if you are currently pleased with your donor acquisition, donor retention, and donor engagement. We're going to be sharing a lot of strategies today for those three areas, and we want to know if most people are satisfied with them, with those, or if they're challenges that you're facing. Go ahead and drop your answer in so we can kind of see who we have on. All right, so we'll go ahead and share those results. So 91% of you had said that donor retention, acquisition, and engagement is a struggle, which is really interesting to see. That's a pretty big majority. The next question we want to know is how many current solutions are you using to manage your donor activities? These can be everything from, online donations. Maybe you have one system to manage your online donation pages, another system to manage peer-to-peer, another to manage recurring giving, another for volunteers, grants, campaigns, memberships, events, whatever it might be. Are you having to pay separate subscription fees for all of those different platforms? Or are you only paying for one solution where it's all completely integrated and automated? Okay, we've got a lot of answers coming in. Very interesting. Okay, so I'll go ahead and share these with everyone. So you can see the majority of you are using two solutions at 33% and then three solutions at 21%. So that's great information for us to see here. Next up, kind of in a similar fashion, we want to know anyone who is using multiple solutions. Do you think it'd be beneficial to have all of those separate siloed solutions in one platform? So would you like for everything to be in one place, completely integrated and automated? Give a few more seconds for some answers to come in. All right, and then looking at this, 100% of you said yes, that you would like for that. So that's awesome to see. And then last question I'm going to ask, with those siloed solutions, are you and your staff having to spend time moving data, from different places into one place? Maybe that causes an inconsistent picture of data. Maybe it makes it hard for reporting. This can be very time consuming. Sometimes there's one person in an organization where it's just their job to move around data. So we want to know if any of you are having to spend time and struggling with that, because we have solutions for you today that could help out with that. And maybe you're not sure, and that's okay too. All right, so looking at the poll results, seems like 90% of you are having to spend time moving data. A few of you are not, and then a few of you are unsure, which is okay. All right, thank you everyone for that great information. I'm going to pass this over to our panel to get into some of the biggest challenges facing nonprofits today.
Okay. Thanks, Gabby. Before I go into the challenges facing nonprofits today, Stacy, do you want to talk a little bit about the context of this and what we're talking about? Because I know that there are organizations of all types of sizes, types, and I know that sometimes when we're talking about these very high level statistics about the challenges that they're facing, it depending on the size of your organization, sometimes we're dealing with people that are all volunteer based. Sometimes we have organizations that have 20 gift officers.
Right.
So I know that there's that depending on where they're at, the challenges can be different, right?
Absolutely. From our perspective at Keller Consulting, it really doesn't matter where you are. It doesn't matter how big your organization is. It doesn't matter how many staff, and quite honestly, even how long you've been around. In our experience, we have seen that everybody has a need for this area. And even whether it doesn't even matter what they came to us for, if they came to us for a capital campaign or a resource plan or a strategic plan, we always see this as a thread, right? This is one of the threads that needs to be dealt with, because everybody needs to retain, engage, grow current donors, right? As well as get new. We all need to do that. And so again, this is one great option for that. And my tip for you, regardless of your size, so if you're more of a startup or a smaller organization, pick 2 or 3 things from this that you want to take away that you feel like are going to be really important, and work on those, because you're going to hear a lot of different options today, and just pick a couple. The other thing is, this is the kind of thing you can use Keller for, is if you don't know where to start with, I don't even know where to start with stewardship, right? Then that might be something you can use us for, but this is going to be great information.
No, that's great. Thank you, Stacy, for saying that, because you're absolutely right. And every day, David and I are talking to nonprofit organizations, and this presentation was born out of that, because of what we hear consistently over and over again is the struggle with acquiring new donors and retaining donors. It's very real. I mean, David did a presentation a while ago that's recorded. If people want to watch it, they can. With the ED of Giving USA, and that's where these stats came from, and it really is, it highlights the fact that retention rates are too low at 45%. And first-time donors, very few of them give repeatedly. Which just goes to the retention stats. 53% of nonprofits say acquisition is something that they're struggling with, and the decline in overall that's individual giving, by the way, that 4.7% decline in adjusted for inflation, which is not good. The stats are highlighting what we already know, right? Which is then what we're hearing from all of you out there at your nonprofits. So that is really what we're going to try and address today on this webinar.
And I think a really important point, Chris, also, for the audience, is when you really think about the giving report, which was a an amazing report, and they're saying 67% of all donations came from individuals, and that percentage was not including the bequests that were given by individuals as well. So I think it was up over almost 70 or 80%. And when you think about that, they also said that giving was up last year, yet
Yeah.
giving on donor acquisition and donor retention was down for a majority of the nonprofits. And it is concerning, and the reasons why. And we will talk about ideas on how you can use different methods to increase your donor acquisition and increase ways of retention, and also just as equally as important is acknowledgement. And I think when you look at the statistics and you see there is a growing thing and individuals are giving, what can you do differently about that? And I think when I hear about the polls, which is pretty amazing, about nine, and by the way, this is not just the normal poll. We're hearing this all the time, right? About the declines and the struggles. And I think there's a lot of different things. So we're going to talk a lot about that today.
Okay.
And I think just one of the reasons why when we talk about this stuff, and we heard it, first of all, would you like a completely integrated solution? Are you moving data around? Do you have more than two systems or more? And the struggles of doing that. I think when you really just look at this kind of slide, first of all, there's a lot of great software out there. We're not here to knock anybody's software, frankly, and I think there's a place for everybody's software. But when you have a lot of different applications and you have 2 applications or 3 applications, 4 applications, and you have limited integration, meaning they're not talking to one another, and then you have to start moving data around, and things are not necessarily automated, you have a couple situations. First of all, it is truly costly to manage and train and maintain each of these siloed applications. And when I mean costly to maintain, I don't just mean it from a financial aspect of it. I mean, from an administrative side, when you think, and we leave organizations, talk to them literally every single day, and their staff is telling us, I probably spend 60% of my time on my job and 40% of time on the administrative side. And if I could get something that was more streamlined or automated, and sometimes they don't always know exactly what they're saying, but a lot of times they do. And then you think about not just the salary of what they're being paid, but the lost revenue that they could be doing in fundraising or anything else. And when you think about that data movement and all of those other things that are inconsistent, and the donors are having limited communications because your staff can't get to them on what we will call a timely matter, and we can talk about what that means. There's always that inconsistent engagement between the organization and the donors, or any constituent for that matter. And when you're having that inconsistency, these donors will have a tendency to say, you know what, I still like the organization, but you know what, I'm going to give a little bit to them. I'm going to give a little bit to somebody new this year because maybe they weren't acknowledged. And I'm not saying that's always the right reason, but this is one of the many reasons why they are seeing a decline, maybe in acquisition or retention. And everybody seems to be looking for more efficient ways to engage, in this virtual world, because we're still virtual, and how do we communicate in that? So these are just some of the challenges that we've seen out there that are happening right now.
All right. Yeah. Knowing and understanding your donors. This goes back to the whole title of this webinar, right? About the data that you're trying to keep track of with regard to your constituents, why it's important, and how having a system or systems in place, hopefully not too many, because you don't want siloed data. I know a lot of you are struggling with that too, but having all your data available so that you can really know and understand who you're talking to, and that you are, as you all know, I mean, targeted and personalized communication is just essential to foster a deeper, connection between your organization and your donors, right? Which leads to improved retention. I mean, it's just a fact, right? So accurately, I'm going to put the emphasis on accurately. I'm sure Stacy and Judy have lots of horror stories about trying to get data out of their clients' solutions, and it's not accurate. It's one of the biggest struggles we see, on the sports side of our organization. Accurately tracking constituent engagement will allow you to, pick from predefined segments or create categories that are specific to your organization's strategy and target outreach. So those segments will help you convert prospects or retain donors, right, more effectively. And if you don't have accurate data, if you aren't keeping track of that information with regards to your constituents and making it easy to get it out, it's all for naught, right? So one of the things I always say on these presentations is, if you don't have a procedures manual of how data should be getting into your database or about your constituents, then it's going to be inconsistent because there's too much turnover, as you all know, at your organizations, and there's not consistent training and handing off of how data goes into the database, which means once your data gets inconsistently entered, it's useless. So if you haven't, take some time. It doesn't have to be very long, and document how you're managing your data, how it gets in, and how you can get it out too. But there's all sorts of data that you should keep. You could also be tracking beyond just your standard who donated, right? I mean, we've seen people who are doing surveys to get feedback from their constituents, not just donors, but also volunteers, et cetera, to understand how people are aligned with your organization, so you can communicate to them better. There's donor analysis that do you have clean, reliable data and a solution to analyze your donor data and your prospects? I mean, the biggest issue, like I say, is just being able to rely on that to get out those segments that you want to then personalize and target and have communication with, right? Because you're not going to be able to if your data is not consistent, right? And then stewardship and relationship building. This goes back to what David just mentioned about being timely in responses to them when they give. It's shocking how that still doesn't occur. And communicating with the way they want to be communicated. Does your system allow you to know who wants to be communicated how? They only want email, or they only want one newsletter a year, and it's going to be via snail mail. And how are you tracking the relationships between the linkages between people that, do you understand who your board member knows and potential donors, et cetera, and having that all documented, so it's not institutional memory. It's actually in the database for anyone to understand and know.
I'd just like to add, I think
Yeah,
these
please.
issues are really key for any successful capital campaign, any successful planned giving program, any real major gifts program. So we're often asked to come in and address one of those three things. And in fact finding, we'll ask something as simple as, what's your retention rate? How many donors do you have? What's your average gift? What's your retention rate? Just the three basic questions. And I'm shocked at how many development officers, great people, great major gifts people, great grant writers, but they can't answer those three questions. So you can't really grow your revenue until you can understand your data.
Great point. Yeah. Thanks, Judy. All right, so identifying and reaching, this is really part of the previous slide too, really leveraging your data. And again, goes hopefully you have quality data to leverage, and hopefully you have data that is in a fully integrated, CRM, or we call it donor relationship management, DRM system, where you are not having siloed data. You have a strong understanding of where you're at in terms of donor acquisition and engagement and retention, and like Judy just said, you can run a report and very easily see your donor retention and where you're at and who they are and who you need to be communicating with more, because they didn't give last year, for example. It's very easy for you to be able to reach out to those people and identify them. It should be. So, tracking constituent engagement in as few data silos as possible, right? Or hopefully, one single system where you can better understand how to approach those donors and prospects and evaluate the effectiveness of those fundraising efforts. Because if you can't evaluate them, how effective they are, then you could just be spinning your wheels, right? And Stacy, I don't know if you want to add anything to that.
I think Judy covered it. I'd say the
Okay.
ease of the analysis is important, because just as you said, with turnover and changes, we need to be able to get in and get that information fairly easily. I can't emphasize that enough. You know, we don't have lots and lots of staff who can go and find that information and complete that analysis. When you say analysis, people think, oh, what does that mean? Well, it should just mean clicking on one click and saying, run this report, right? It
Yeah.
should be that easy.
Right. Yeah, and like Judy said too, that there is that there can be opportunities like run a capital campaign, like she mentioned, where there could be augmentation of the existing data that you have using outside data sources, right? Like our partner Donor Search, who does wealth screening, and hopefully you have a solution that could be fully integrated with something like that, where you could click a button and very easily get additional information on these people, so that that person who's giving you $20 a year actually, and you didn't realize this, but you could find this out through wealth screening data coming through someone like Donor Search, that they are actually capable of giving you 20,000, right? And that's very important for a capital campaign, right? You do not want to leave that money on the table. So understanding what their propensity to give is to an organization like yours, what their capacity to give to an organization is important, and you can get that information too through third-party integrations like that we have with wealth screening organizations.
And Chris, to add to that point, when you're doing that, not every donor is exactly the same. So you really want to, once you really identify the different types of donors, you want to start creating different types of personas for each of those different types of donors. And then you're really identifying what the ask would be, what the outreach would be, what the messaging would be, and it's more personalized. And I think this whole notion of the data segmentation and having a database that allows you to do that gives you a better opportunity to really work with your current donors, your volunteers, your board members in a very different way than maybe you're currently using them.
That's a great segue, David. Do you want to talk a little bit more about that here?
On compelling donors, sure. I mean, just create, like we said, creating a compelling and marketing campaigns. Every marketing campaign should be different. You have different stories that you want to talk about. You want to showcase the impact of a donation, of certain people that are giving donations and how that really affected your cause. You want to personalize that communication with specifically the donor's name, their past contributions, the areas of interest. I mean, the more that you know and the more that you have in your donor database, the more that they're going to feel that they're really part of what you do each and every day. You always, and we could go on about this, but you want to address their values and their motivations. I mean, you got to know your audience, and your audience is just, it's not everybody within your database is the same. So, you want to really focus on those different segmentations. And I think having different approaches and different messaging and different images and different calls to action. And then you want to do tests too. I mean, let's not forget about test marketing. I mean, you could do small segments with these different personas that you're creating, and then actually see what resonates with the different audiences. I mean, maybe one audience is really resonating with it and they're really coming in, whatever that call to action could be. It could be, a reoccurring donation. It could be a tribute gifts. Maybe it could be a number of different things, but you also want to always base this on performance and really track these things within what you're doing. The more you're tracking, the better understanding that you have. And then when we talk about, when you're really segmenting out, you're also talking about, there's so many different, what we call digital marketing channels today, right? There's so many, and I think we all struggle with it. I mean, do we do Facebook? Do we do Instagram? Do we do, TikTok? I mean, what do we use as our social media platforms? Because I do believe it's different audiences, and you want to share different types of stories, maybe similar stories, but if you're sending this out there, and consistent updates. I think consistent updates on anything that you're doing, whether they're campaign appeals or not. And truly investing in some online advertising. I mean, test that. I mean, some are really great. I mean, you hear they're really great, but they may not be great for you. So is it the Google ads or, different types of media ads that you want to get a new audience? I mean, when you're talking about donor acquisition. So, and how are you driving traffic to your website? I think those are really important things. And can you track that website and see who those different types of either donors are because they came and did something, or they came and left. And is there a way that you could find out, why? So, part of that also is making sure your website is truly optimized in what we call, and I know we could talk a little bit more about that, is a donor-centric website. Traditional websites are different today. Donor-centric websites are easy for them to, it should everything be one click away. And I think we have a few different examples of some great websites that I know Arreva has done for our clients. I think Boys and Girls Club of Salt Lake City was a great example of showing a number of different things. But when they came to that website, what those different call to actions were, or an impact report was right there, or supporting your volunteers or donors. I mean, we could go on and on about it, but I think looking at these different levels of marketing and how you're doing that and tracking that is really important. The other thing is, everybody seems to have what we call different influences or partners, right? You have supporting partners, you have volunteering partners. They're very important if you're really, not working with and collaborating them and really, share what's going on. Maybe they can outreach to their client base, right? Maybe there's more that they don't know of who they're supporting. But they're very, if they're part of what you're doing, whether they're sponsors, then they're very passionate about your cause, and you want to make sure that they're amplifying your message, whether it's through email marketing for what they're doing in the community, or just on social media to, just to make them more aware of what they're doing within the community with your nonprofit. So, track the performance on all of the things that you're doing. I know that's not always easy, but once you start tracking, and I've lived through that myself. I mean, I support nonprofits, and to get that first started isn't always easy. But once you understand how to track a campaign or an email blast and see the results, it's not as difficult as you may see, and it'll also give you better long-term relationships with your audience. All right.
David, you want to discuss a little bit just about, I'll go into the details, but maybe some of the stats around online giving?
Sure, absolutely, Chris.
I will. I mean, basically, online giving is up. 61% of donors worldwide prefer giving online, right? So what does that mean? I mean, you have to have a strong online and offline presence, right? In terms of being able to give. And, have you invested in your website enough? That's because that is the foundation of your online presence, right? I mean, is it mobile responsive? Is it visually appealing? It is easy to navigate, right? Making sure it's easy to give online and it's obvious to have a big donate button at the top of your page, right? For people to easily find it. Are you leveraging social media strategically to also get people to bring people to your site? That's another thing. You can't just build things and assume people will come. So, I mean, bringing awareness to your organization is important too, to drive traffic to your site, right? And then when you're doing campaigns, I'm sure our partners here could discuss this a little bit more, but bridging online and offline campaigns, right? You can promote offline events and campaigns through email and social media to bring more awareness to those efforts, and also engage with partnerships. We have some organizations out there that have made some amazing collaborations with local businesses that we can talk about a little bit more, David, right? And using media outlets and influencers to help donate and bring awareness to their mission, right? And then also on that website, giving people options, right? That's not having just a single donate page, but can you put an option in there on your donate page to allow people to start giving monthly and make it easy? If they want to give a gift in memory of somebody or in honor of someone, can they do that easily, right? So having a platform that allows you to easily spin up pages like that on your website, so to allow people to give they want to give, and how they want, and allow them to be aligned with your organization how they would like to be, right? If anyone has anything else here, please
Yeah,
chime in.
no, Chris, I
Yeah, go
think
ahead,
you bring
David.
up no, I really do think you bring up a lot of good points, on a lot of different ways. And when we talk about different ways of giving, I think there are a lot of different ways of giving. I think there's 2 points to this, Chris. One, there's many different ways of giving. How can your board members help you create donor acquisition, right? They can help it because maybe you have a peer-to-peer fundraising application. This allows them, and I think there's a difference between a GoFundMe and a true peer-to-peer fundraising, right? So I'll give you a little example on that, where an individual for your nonprofit is writing something compelling about your organization. Peer-to-peer fundraising, I truly love, and I could actually talk about this with Chris and our team here for hours. But it gives the ability for them to write something. It could be maybe you have an urgent 30 days to raise money because maybe there was a program and you have 30 days left to, for the children to do something on the program. Maybe a bus broke down and you need a new bus. So there's a sense of urgency, and having a peer-to-peer fundraising with a clear message not only allows your volunteers, your board members, your active donors to help, but they're sending it out to their friends. I mean, at the end of the day, they're sending it to their friends. And a couple things are happening about this. Technology should enable them to send out to their friends. And when they give a donation on behalf of their friend on your website, they're coming back to your website, they're giving that donation, and that person's could be the first donation they ever gave, but they're giving it through a friend. One, they should get an automatic thank you, acknowledgement, and receipt instantaneously. The individual that hosted the peer-to-peer fundraising should be receiving a notification that their friend actually did it. So if they wanted to do something about that and say thank you, and the organization should immediately get a notification that, in this case, David Blyer gave to Stacy, and they got a notification. That lends, because you got that immediately and you live in this fast world. If you had the time, and I'm not saying you do, and we could talk about best practices, but if you had the ability to pick up the phone as a nonprofit and say, David, I want to thank you for giving a donation on behalf of Stacy. This is why we're raising it. Would you like to learn more about our organization? Could I put you on our newsletter? Could I invite you to there's donor acquisition. And immediately I would call Stacy and say, Stacy, I know you get a notification. I just wanted to thank you. David Blyer just gave a donation. And by the way, not only did you help raise money, we just got a new donor. So you just gave Stacy acknowledgement, you just got a new donor, and you just streamlined your delay on acknowledgement, your delay on potential acquisition almost immediately. And there's a lot of different wonderful ways. And the important thing that I didn't share, because we are always talking about looking at CRM and what's the best one out there. It's not that it's the best. This is a fully what we call integrated and automated. You're not moving that data. That data came into your organization. That data went into your donor relationship management database. That did a lot of things for you. So that administrative task of maybe moving data, if you're using a separate peer-to-peer fundraising, does not exist anymore. So, and then it could be a text-based donation. I mean, maybe you want to do text-based donations. Maybe you're running events and you want to get that information. Even direct mail is still good today. I mean, I know people are using it and they are seeing great results. Don't, but always have a call to action. Maybe you link it to them, even on that. If you want to give a donation moving forward, here's the link that you would go to. So there's a lot of different ways of finding multiple ways of many people giving a donation. And again, I think also on certain websites, and I think there's one that's set up here, is Ronald McDonald of New Mexico. One of the things that I really liked about what they did, we call it sort of unlimited donation pages. You may hear that a few times, but what we mean by that is it's one click away. It's not just a denomination on it, but $10 helps us with a welcome bag. $25 helps us with running shower water. They feel like, oh, my $10 is actually going to this, or my $25 is going to that, or $2,500 is helping underwrite a room for 1 year on our annual expenses. Sharing that information, whether it doesn't always have to be on an impact report, it could be right on your website in many different ways.
David, I love that you mentioned the acknowledgement should be by phone, because in the world that I live in, mostly in capital campaigns, we are seeing more and more the need for this multi-channel strategy. The solicitation for a major gift, the solicitation is still best personal, but the donors will often go to the website to give, or they'll go to the community foundation to give. So we've got to be much more sophisticated, and a good, solid, integrated system like this one allows us to be.
It makes it easier for the staff, right, Judy? It
Mhm.
just makes it easier.
Mhm.
It's great. They got to thank you. That's wonderful, and that is great. But to be able to have the information at their fingertips, because the staff got a notification that Judy called to pick up a phone, it's impactful. It truly is impactful, and I've personally witnessed it. I've seen it happen. It's truly, you remember that, because not enough are doing it, but again, they not always have the right technology to allow them to do that either.
All right. Yeah, no, great stuff. And to just to kind of further that conversation, go into more detail, about recurring giving, uh, which is, hopefully most of you have a monthly giving program. I mean, one of the positive trends in 2024 is the increase in recurring donations. They were up actually 6%, which is great. So if you don't have an option online to let people become recurring donors, you should, and it should be easy. It shouldn't be hard, because, if it's hard for you, call us and we'll help you out. But although you can't just throw a recurring giving page on your website and just, assume people are going to start giving and becoming monthly donors. There is a lot of churn in recurring donations. I think 10% churn in the first month, and then within 6 months, I think you have a 23% churn. So that goes to what David and we've been talking about just the past few slides about making sure that you're communicating with these people, making sure that you're keeping them engaged, and also promoting that monthly giving program. Sorry, go ahead. Oh, I thought no, okay. But if if you aren't promoting this monthly giving program, no one's going to sign up, right? So are you using social media and email marketing to promote it? Have you named the program something other than, maybe call it Circle of Change or Sustainer Society, something like that, and promote it? Are you giving them certain perks? Are you making sure they're getting thanked personally? Maybe they get early access to events or priority registration, something like that, but try and, and incentivize them to give monthly, right? And then again, right, start sharing stories with them. Don't just assume once they sign up that they're going to stay, but you have to keep them engaged. Share impactful stories, real life stories about, how their monthly giving is making a change, and use video testimonials, like the share the impact they're having with your annual reports, etc. That way they know that, that their donations are actually valued, right? And that's super important. I don't know if anyone else wants to chime in about, I know that recurring donations can be a bit smaller, right, Stacy, Judy, but they can have benefits beyond that too, right?
And what tends to happen is that what I've seen in the past is some of those smaller ones ended up being a planned gift that you didn't even realize, right? And so again, the monthly reoccurring, annual reoccurring, those are the individuals that are engaged with your mission. They become volunteers, they become planned gifts, and hopefully you move them to a major gift as well. Yep.
I think even creating a sense of urgency sometimes. I mean, we talk about, like, Chris kind of mentioned it and naming it, but now it's, join this month, double your impact through a matching gift. We have, an anonymous, or if you have, he doesn't want to be anonymous or she doesn't want to be anonymous, you can say, we have a matching gift that's coming in and it's only for this month. So you can draw, and I know that's not always easy to do. I mean, I was literally just at an event and they stood up and it was a really amazing cause. And I really enjoyed the mission and why they were raising this money. And they came into the audience and said, we just were given a matching gift up to $1 million, which is almost unheard of. It was a lot of money. And, and it's going to run for 90 days. And if you could do this, this is going to get us a lot more. And what was really interesting is being on the other side of that, of a, potential donor there. I was telling people about, oh my God, they got $1 million. Somebody, first of all, what a generous person or family to go do that. But more importantly, people were talking about it. You know what? I'm going to give $100. I'm going to give $1,000. I'm going to give whatever, and that's double for them. So they really feel compelled on doing these things. I think also always spotlighting. I think acknowledgement is so important. I mean, everybody loves acknowledgement. We give donations for, donors give for different reasons, but they still love acknowledgement, and letting people know about who gave, or in different ways. It shows appreciation, and it may inspire others to join, of doing this, because they see their names up there, whether it's in a book, whether it's on their website. I mean, I think there's just a lot of different ways of really promoting that program.
Yeah. Yeah. I think that applies too. We're this slide here talking about, I'm going to go quickly because we got more slides here, Gabby Hunt, but the tribute memorial donations, I mean, that's a great way to acquire new donors, right? People want to honor, memorialize their relatives and loved ones, friends, et cetera. Now, some organizations obviously could be more inclined to get more of those, but I think every organization should have some sort of way of allowing people to give and honor memory. It allows to not only to acquire those donors, but you're also then typically, if you have the right solution in place, and hopefully you do, is that you're also tracking who wants to be notified on behalf of, usually it's next of kin, it's family members who want to be notified when someone gives in, let's say, memory of their grandfather, right? So you're keeping track of those people as well. You're notifying them, letting them know when people are giving in memory, but those people could become donors. So it really does increase your ability to acquire donors, making it easy to give online donations in memory or in honor of people. Having a solution in place that allows you to easily send out those notifications to let people know that people have given in honor and memory of others, and run reports and list them. And being able to track tribute walls, tribute bricks I've seen, and being able to have really personalized communications with them, thanking them, making sure that they aren't just giving once in honor and memory of someone, and making sure that they understand the value of that donation, and et cetera. So I don't, does anyone else want to
Yeah.
chime in before?
Yeah,
Yeah, go ahead. Okay.
really quick. I always have something to add, as you know, Chris, but when you think about this, 33% of donors worldwide are giving tribute gifts. That's a pretty big percentage, first of all, right? And I'm going to share this with the audience, and I think this is really important. I've heard this so many times. A tribute gift is a wonderful thing, whether it's in memory of or in honor. The downfall on tribute gifts is within the organization. And the reason there could be a decline on future gifts, and this is just one of the reasons. I've had literally meetings with donors and board members, and they said, can you imagine, I may get off of this board. And the reason that is I always give a tribute gift. And you have to think about a tribute gift as an alignment. I'm not going to give a tribute gift, maybe in honor of or memory of, unless my friend who I'm giving it to feels the same about that same organization or like that organization. So there's a reason why I'm giving a tribute gift. That's the first thing. The second thing is it goes back to that whole automation. When I give a tribute gift, what has happened, and I don't know if the audience, I know it's not that interactive, but you could certainly respond to it. When somebody gives a tribute gifts, does the person receiving the tribute gift get an automatic acknowledgement? In many cases, what we've heard is they're not. And the donor who's giving a tribute gift is really far and few between, is really getting an acknowledgement that that person from the organization sent an acknowledgement on their tribute gift. I've heard so many stories from so many different people that have given tribute gifts that they weren't acknowledged, first of all. And second thing is they were calling the organization not 3 weeks later, not 6 weeks later, but months later, and saying, did you ever acknowledge the person I gave it to? And the organization in this one particular case said, I apologize, we did not. We've been really busy and we're sorry. The person hung up because they're very polite, and they said, you know what? I'm never giving another tribute gift. So when you have an automated system and 33% of donors, and you can promote this through different programs, then you need to make sure that that acknowledgement is all the way around. It has to go 360 degrees from the tribute to the person that's giving, the notifications, fast. And I will tell you, we solved that problem because even on our tribute, whether it's an honor of or memory of, you can put the person's name in, you can write a sentiment or a comment. When you click submit, it goes to that. So you know an acknowledgement's there. Your donation is automatically going into the donor relationship management database. The staff is being notified that you provided it. And if they have best practices put in, they're going to acknowledge you. And they're still going to do an outreach to the person if it was a tribute, regardless, and saying, hey, we want to just acknowledge that such and such gave you a tribute gift. We wanted to acknowledge that. And by the way, would you like to learn more about our organization? So it's another way of retention, acknowledgement, and donor acquisition on these different things. They're little small things, but a lot of small things add up to a lot of big things. Thanks, Chris.
Of course. The next slide is going to be about peer-to-peer fundraising. I don't know how many of you are familiar with that. You know, it allows individuals, if you have a solution that allows you to have peer-to-peer giving, it's very easy to set up. And then what is the beauty of it is it allows individuals to set up personal fundraising pages to raise money on behalf of your organization, right? So they can amplify that out through their social media platform. I mean, that's a beauty, right? It amplifies your fundraising efforts beyond your list of donors and prospects to all these people out there who are setting up their own pages to support you, right? And another benefit, and I'm sure Stacy and Judy have encountered this too, is that it allows staff, board members who really, you know, maybe should be actually helping and assisting it with helping you raise money, and maybe are feeling intimidated by doing that. It allows them to, in a less intimidating way, set up their own donation pages and try and raise money on behalf of your organization, but without having to actually go out and directly ask, right, for money face to face, right?
And Chris, I'll
I
swap
think,
that. Oh, go ahead, Judy.
well, I just wanted to add, I think this process has gotten much easier over the years. If you live in the world of special events, and Stacy was at the Alzheimer's Association, I was at the American Lung Association for years, so both big voluntary health organizations with a lot of peer-to-peer fundraising. It was tough to set up a donor page in the old days, but now it's really gotten easy, and we've seen donors that are frankly older and less tech savvy maybe jump into this. So the fact that you all have an integrated system, that your special events module and your communication module are so seamless, helps organizations a lot.
So what I'll add to that, for those who are saying, I'm not even doing peer-to-peer right now, one place you can start is take an existing event. I don't think people realize you can take any event almost and make it a peer-to-peer, make team fundraising come out of your existing event. It's the easiest thing to do. So that's the first start. The other thing is put a DIY, a do-it-yourself link on your website that gives them ideas of 5 quick and easy items that they can do. And then the last thing is, remember, I can't tell you how many major gift candidates were in the room. They're in the room in one of these peer-to-peer groups, right? And that's how we got them. So again, back to the data.
Yeah, that's great.
And Stacy, I love your point. I literally just saw this morning. And maybe Gabby, if you remember, there was one of our nonprofits was doing an event, and they also were using peer-to-peer at the same time for the event, which also allowed them to create more, even though you're promoting the event, you're sending this out to your existing database, the individual peer-to-peer, people that were signing up for it. And to your point, it's one click away, right? It's write it, publish it, and send it out, and they make it easy. It's also about creating more awareness to people that are not in your database through your friends. So you could raise more money. Again, it's the same process because it's all about that, maybe that increasing of donor acquisition, thanking that person that's acknowledging it. And the other nice thing is, peer-to-peer fundraising, I could give you so many different examples, but one example is, even if you're running that event, I was going to say on a board meeting, if you're running that event and you have individuals that are helping raise money and you're acknowledging them later, there's even a step further of not only just acknowledging them and saying, hey, you had a goal of $1,000 and here's the purpose of the $1,000, and you raised, $1,500. But I want to also acknowledge, not only did you raise $1,500 for the organization, but because of you, we have X amount of new donors because we reached them and we increased our donor database. It's a really powerful thing. And even you can do this in board meetings and use peer-to-peer. We've seen many organizations just with their board members who have a financial responsibility to raise money, whether it's them individually writing a check or they have a year and they can do it by, raising the money in their way. Peer-to-peer fundraising is another great way to do it. We have a lot of different examples on that, but I know we're limited with time today. So I love team fundraising. I always get to talk about the fun stuff, right? I mean, Chris gets to talk about data segmentation, and Judy and Stacy, I get to talk about the fun stuff. I will share this with you. There's a movement right now. We're talking a lot about events. We're talking a lot about peer-to-peer fundraising, team fundraising. We think about it as a race to run a walk, and it is absolutely that. But what I have seen in the movement, and I think this is a really good example, it's a Ronald McDonald House of, I don't know, I don't know which Ronald McDonald House was. They're running multiple events and they're using their team fundraising or the Arreva's team fundraising platform because it's all encompassing as one solution in a sense that you can register for the event, you can pay for the event, you have team captains raising money as a team for the event. You've got the top donors, the top supporters within the teams. And it's a huge movement right now that they're using the concept of the team fundraising, but to run these events. They're creating more awareness, they're registering faster, they're exceeding their revenue goals. I think I just saw one and it was at the end of 2024, they started publicizing, I think it was for this month, and I think it's in this one, for like $45,000. At the beginning of January, they already reached $92,000. It was really amazing. And it's all live. You can see it. It's all live. But this is what team fundraising is. It's really about the whole participation. It's a common goal for everybody. It's virtual, even if they're having an in-person run, which these are really in-person runs. I think the run, it was from Atlanta to doing a Disney run or something like that. It's just really pretty amazing on how they're running these, and collaboration on all fronts is really creating more awareness, raising more money, creating more donors, and really, again, it's all about that acknowledgement too. When it's all over, they do an amazing job about not only the acknowledgement, but the team captains and how much they raised and how many more donors they brought into the database. And it really is feel good. And when you do these things on a consistent basis, everybody wants to participate year over year because this is something that we see year over year. Hey, we exceeded our goal this year. We raised the goal this year. 2025, we're even raising it more. I mean, these are the things that are really doing a lot of team fundraising. I mean, we could just go into a lot more, but it's also, you're leveraging gamification and you're setting up real-time leaderboards, and people are seeing the measurements and seeing their goals. And every day you go in and you just literally no matter who goes in, they can see where their goal is and how much they've already raised. And wow, I want to participate in this. These are, pretty interesting goals. And they're not only reaching their goals, they're exceeding a lot of their goals, and people want to engage in all of that. So a lot of acknowledgement, a lot of involvement, and a lot of collaboration. I mean, it really is when they say team, it truly is a team process. Anything else?
No.
All right. Judy, you want to talk about year-round events? And I mean, this is really fun stuff too, but I think galas are really important. I think there's all different types of events, and there's a lot of different fundraising types of events and raising money, but you can use these different galas for acknowledging your top volunteers and really recognize your top donors. I mean, I think there's a lot of different types of appreciation that you can do during the course of the year. There's a lot of different acknowledgments out there. I mean, we talk a lot about that, but who are your top supporters? I mean, maybe you're giving through different types of awards or public acknowledgments, during the event, and recognizing them. I mean, when people see that, they sit back and they also say, how can I get acknowledged too? What do I need to do? What type of volunteer do I need to be? What type of board member do I need to be? What type of active donor do I need to be? And I think fostering this type of um, events is really important. Whether you're giving, with an event, maybe you're giving certain, showing different types of impacts and what was behind the scenes, and the progress that you made on, maybe it was a project of running this, but also talking about future plans and reinforcing the value, within the way they're giving you the support that they're giving you. So I saw, organizations that even we went to, and they give different types of tours. It could be an event, doesn't always have to just be about money raising. It could be guided tours of your facilities, or maybe there's a new site that you're building, or you're building a capital campaign for a new site, and you want to show people firsthand. I mean, you want to customize these type of events and show specific donors, a different level than maybe what you would show other people, and then talk about those stories and acknowledge those type of stories, and just encourage more engagement. Other type of events that you could do for them is, maybe there's a certain speaker that, from a survey, and maybe you did a survey and people would like to, maybe hear a certain speaker within your type of organization, whether it be an educational, some sort of expert, but only certain people previewing, because you're a large donor, you're a certain type of volunteer, or you did something that, we're having a special session for that. People hear about those things. How do I get to those special sessions as well? I mean, there's different levels of everybody. I mean, so I think just doing different types of appreciation and different types of events is really helpful within the organization too. And by the way, when you're registering, all of this should be online. It could be a free event, it could be a paid event, it doesn't matter, but it should be online, and you should be capturing, again, all of that relevant information immediately. Again, we talk about automatic integrated, where they're getting an automatic thank you acknowledgement receipt, where it's going directly into the donor relationship management database, where the staff is getting it. This, what we're talking about on almost everything that we're talking about, should happen in a consistent basis within your technology platform.
We've talked about this a lot already, right? Personalizing gratitude. I'm sure Stacy G, please, chime in if you have any thoughts on this. I know you do, but I have a story that it wasn't too long ago. A client who had a major donor give $30,000 to them during the holidays, and it took them over a month to get the thank you out, and that donor's not going to give to them anymore, unfortunately, simply because I didn't really have the processes right in place to make sure it happened in a timely manner, right?
So the data shows the retention rate is dramatically improved if someone is told what their donation makes possible, specifically, not just it supports our mission, and they get that personal acknowledgement within 48 hours.
Yeah.
And with software these days, we should be able to do that. Even the
Exactly.
smallest organization should be able to do that.
Right. And have it be personalized, right?
Yeah.
Relative to why they're giving and how much they're giving, right?
Yeah.
Yeah. You're right. It should not be hard. You can have as many
I have
emails.
lots of opinions, Chris. I'm just
Ah.
holding back so we have time for Q&A.
Okay. Yeah, I know. I'd love to hear it, but okay. I'll do real quick. The Cure GST. This is just a success story from one of our clients. Dave and I love to tell it because it's a true success story. Meaning, there's a woman who was running. It was a one-person shop. It was all volunteer led. The person who was running the organization needed to raise $8 million to fund. It's GSD is a glycogen insufficiency in the body, and they were they were trying to fund research for it, and they actually raised through using our system. They created a peer-to-peer fundraising campaign. They were doing email marketing campaigns, year-round events. They had a whole strategy on acquiring new donors and retaining them, and they actually were able to raise their money, their goal, and actually fund a cure. So they're actually in clinical trials right now, which is amazing. So anyway, that's just a success story. But let's keep going, Gabby, and we'll try and get through because we are now almost at the end here. I don't know, David, do you want
Well,
to?
I'll just leave,
Yeah. Okay.
this is another, we could talk about success stories all day long, but in short, Boys and Girls Club of Greater Salt Lake City, first of all, the executive director is truly an amazing leader, and she's done amazing things. And one of the challenges when she joined was her staff, and I've heard it today, right? I mean, I don't remember exactly, but they had a number of different applications. They were moving data around. And she said, we need to find an all-in-one solution, truly. And they were using auction software and Excel spreadsheets and different donor relationship management databases, and they were faced with duplicates and redundancies in their day-to-day. And because of that, they literally did see a decline in donor acquisition and retention, and they were very open and honest about that. And then they did select Arreva with our Exceed Further application, and they've seen a world of change. And not only do they say, by the way, they actually save money, because it's not a change of a CRM to a CRM. It really is a change of all the different applications into one solution with one unified database. And now they have a platform that's really making it easier. She has now found it very easy to scale her operations. They've now grown, I think, to 5 different clubs, physical locations with different board members. They've increased their membership. I mean, their daily visits are just incredible. Go to look at their website too. This is a true donor-centric website. I mean, they just made it easier from all around. But it was really, and then now they're seeing an increase in their donor acquisition and retention, and they're just really a great client to talk to. Just a little bit. I don't know how many people, and we should ask that question at the beginning, Gabby, of how many know about Arreva. But for those that don't, we've been around for 30 years. We have over 6,000 clients. Our clients have done over 30 to 40,000 different types of events with us. The nice thing I always love talking about is our entire company is nonprofits, very philanthropic people that understand the nonprofit industry, and the software is exclusively built for the industry. We have been vetted, and we are now approved vendor by many national organizations because they are looking for new softwares. And I mean, you can see the here, but whether it's the Boys and Girls Club, the Society of St. Vincent Paul's, the Tides Foundations, the Ronald McDonald House Charities, they're all using it. In fact, I think Ronald McDonald House Charities, I think over 60 or 70% of every Ronald McDonald House charity in the world is now using some version of our software, and we're very proud of that. And there's other national organizations that we work very, very closely with. But at the end of the day, we really did solve a problem. We have many applications that we do provide. The nice thing about all of these, and it looks like it's a lot, and it is, frankly, and we've heard from our clients of what they want. The nice thing, though, is it's under the umbrella of what we call Exceed Further, and Exceed Further is the flagship product. You don't have to buy all of these applications. You buy what you need. You grow as you grow. If you're not using team fundraising today and you're going to use it in 6 months, then you come to us. But it's one unified database. It's all fully integrated and automated. The last slide that I just want to show you, it's just that. And it's one solution, one database. We made it easy for any size organization to use, whether you're small, whether you're medium, whether you're large. And we're doing and if you want to know more, please just let us know.
Thanks, David. And like David mentioned, if you'd like to learn more about Arreva, there's going to be a poll that pops up on your screen now. Go ahead and hit yes, and we'll be sure to get in contact with you. Someone from our team be in contact with you, today to set up something and hear what your pain points are and see if we can help you. While we still have a little bit of time, I know we're over, but there are some questions, so I'd like to get to those and pose them to the panel. One question, when we were going over the unlimited donation pages and having all those different reasons for gifts. One person asked, does using language like $10 to support, X restrict a gift at all? And then also, how do you say what your donation goes to without restricting a gift?
I can take that one. I think I'm the one that mentioned we should be as specific as possible when we
Mhm.
thank donors. Without taking the time to wordsmith here, I would say there are ways to be honest, but still write your acknowledgement or your thank you letter so that you're stating it's an example, right? So if $10, I don't know, if $10 provides school supplies, you can give that as an example of where your gift has gone. But no, it doesn't legally restrict a gift.
Great, thanks, Judy. And I'm going to go ahead to our next poll up here. Judy and Stacy, you offered a lot of great insight today. So if you would like to learn more about Keller Consulting, go ahead and hit yes, and then we'll make sure someone from their team gets in touch with you. Another comment, our team just purchased the Arreva platform, and I'm looking forward to making it work successfully for us. That is from Gina. Welcome, Gina, to the Arreva family. We're happy to have you. All right. There was one question also in here. I'm interested in learning more about a CRM that manages donations, donors, small to large gifts, donor advised funds, IRA disbursements, philanthropy, grants, earned revenue, and incorporates project pipeline management and external communications.
I'd like to jump in here because as we've talked, the focus has been on the fundraising side, but the modules that Arreva has are so specific that you can also use them for your program side, right? So we're not just talking about development, we're talking about all your functional areas, administration, marketing, and program. And to that question specifically, it sounds like your organization is using a lot of grants and possibly planned giving, if you're talking about IRAs and bequests, and you should follow up with Arreva about that. If you want to talk about the planned giving program specifically, I'd be happy to visit with you after this call.
Thanks.
Judy, this is another question for you, but what were the three questions that organizations don't have the answers for, surprisingly, when you asked them? I know you mentioned that earlier in the call.
And I hate to say all of them because, of course, some do. But one of the things that we ask early on when we get to know an organization, especially when we've been asked to come in for, either a capital campaign, but especially when we're coming in for resource development planning for growing your annual operating fund. We want to know how many donors you have, what's your retention rate, and your average gift. I just blanked out. Those are the three kind of basic questions. And then you dig into, the reason for that is acquisition is so much more expensive than renewals. Right? So once you acquire a donor, we want to do everything we can to keep that person and keep that family engaged and deepen the relationship and move them into higher up the donor pyramid and into major giving capacity, whether or not they have resources today, they're a planned giving prospect in the future. So we don't want to see churning of new donors. We want to keep the donors that we get. So we are especially mindful of average gift, number of donors, and the retention rate.
Great, thank you, Judy. Another question we have, this person is saying, we have 4 different softwares for fundraising, memberships, event, etc. How easy is it to transfer it into Arreva?
Well, I'll answer that, but Chris, you want to answer it?
I will say that we have a lot of experience, decades, moving data, migrating it from one solution to another. We can do all the things you mentioned, membership, et cetera, in one system. And we do have engineers who have worked for decades in the space with us, and we will hold your hand through the process of migrating data from one platform to another. I'd say we take pride in it's the biggest part of onboarding for our clients is typically that data migration piece. And we spend a lot of time with you making sure that we migrate the data in a way that's going to come over into our solution so that you can hit the ground running and use it immediately. And that's not always the case. I've seen with other vendors where people are spending months cleaning up data after a data migration. And that's not what we would do. We would make sure that we work with you so that not only just we get the data into our solution, but we put it in our solution in a way that's going to allow you to get the data out the way you need it and the way you need to be able to use it. David, I don't know if you can add to that if you want, please.
No, I would because I think we do something very special. And part of that process is if you provide us a copy of the data, even before you sign a contract with us, which is all confidential, we will give that to our data migration specialist that would typically be assigned to that particular account. They'll look at your data, they'll look at all the bio data, they'll look at duplicates. We'll know exactly how many records you actually have. They'll not only come back with a fixed price because we can do a fixed price on the data migration time. And equally as important, we will absolutely tell you whether it's 3 hours or 3 days or 3 weeks. And I'm proud to say this, that we've never missed a deadline that we commit to. And the only way that we've ever missed a deadline is when the client says, oh my God, I can't make this meeting because I have something that came up, and it's pushed out then. If we say it's 3 hours, it's 3 hours. If we say it's 3 weeks, it's 3 weeks. We are an incredible, and I come from the data warehousing world and know the trials and tribulations and challenges and hear the nightmares. I've never seen a company that does a better job. And I'm not just here to sell you that. I'm here to share that with you. And I'm proud of our team that does this incredible job. And I know data migration is always a concern. I mean, in some cases it's brought up, because they've been through it and they've had nightmares. Other cases they are shy about it, but I can tell you, we speak about it even during the selling process of what we do and how we do it. So if you did want to do that, feel comfortable. We do a great job at it.
Thanks, David. Thanks, Chris. Last question. I know we're over, and then we will let you guys go. What is the best association management system for a multi-entity organization?
Ooh.
Say that again, Gabby. What's the best?
What is the best association management
Association
system
management. Okay,
for a
gotcha.
multi-entity organization?
Multi-entity organization. So tracking multiple organizations in one platform. That's interesting. That's a good question. We do have some associations that use our software. There are, so you could use our platform depending on the requirements. We'd need to dig a little deeper on that. Some associations do have very specific requirements. There are platforms out there made just for associations. I'm not as familiar with them, but we do not specifically target associations, but again, we do have some. So depending on your requirements, we could see, if we can meet your needs. But I could also look into some association management specific platforms for you if you need to.
Great. All right, well, those were all the questions we have. Thank you so much, Stacy, Judy, David, and Chris for joining us today. Thank you for all of us for joining us on our webinar. We hope to see you on our next Arreva webinar, and for anyone who requested info, we'll be getting in touch with you. Thank you, and we hope you have a great day.
Well, Gabby, I'd just like to thank Judy and Stacy and Chris for participating on this. I'd also like to thank the audience that truly came and attended. I hope you really learned something about this. We're very passionate about what we do, and we care about the industry as a whole and being socially good. And we thank you all for an amazing job that you guys do each and every day. So thank you for that.
And thanks to Stacy and Judy for joining us.
Here, here. Chris, David, thank you. Everyone on the call, best of luck. You're doing great work.
Awesome. And by the way, Judy and Stacy, I know we're so thrilled to partner with you guys. And I'm sorry I didn't say that at the very beginning, but you guys are an amazing consulting firm. We recommend you all the time. You guys do a really great job. And we thank you for, joining the Arreva Partnership Program. So we're really happy about that. And look forward to doing a lot more of these educational webinars with both of you.
Great. Great. Thanks, David.
You bet.
Thank you, everyone.
Thanks, Gabby.